Welcome to this oil painting tutorial. Today, we'll be painting a serene lake in a forest, captured beautifully with rich greens, warm hues, and soft reflections. This is part 1 of a 2-part series where we lay the foundation of the landscape, focusing on the sky, lake, and initial foliage. Let's get started. Before we begin painting, let's take a look at the materials we'll be using to create this serene landscape of lake in a forest, filled with rich foliage and vibrant trees. Titanium white for creating highlights, mixing tones, and adding soft light to the sky and foliage. Cadmium yellow hue for the background's warm glow and the autumn tree's base. Phthalo green, the main color for the vibrant greenery around the lake and trees. Burnt umber for shading, adding depth, and the tree trunks. Light burnt sienna to outline the lake and add earth tones to the landscape. Cadmium orange for the rich, warm autumn colors in the foliage and trees. Ultramarine blue and cerulean blue for the water reflections and subtle hints in the sky. Payne's grey for shadow areas and some distant tree lines. Medium flat brush and round brushes. Canvas and easel stand. Linseed oil, turpentine oil and waste cloth. For this painting, we'll use a variety of oil paints to bring out the soft, yet colorful scenery. Here's a list of the essential colors you'll need. This image with the colors is given in your study material for your reference. To begin, we'll cover the canvas with an oil wash. Mix titanium white and cadmium yellow hue with a bit of oil medium to make the wash more fluid and easier to apply. Using a flat brush, apply this mix over the top 2/3 of your canvas. This will be the background for the sky and distant trees. Ensure the strokes are smooth and blend them softly for a warm glow effect. This soft, warm tone will create the glowing background of our painting, representing the distant sky and the misty, sunlit forest. Gently load your brush with a generous amount of paint, but ensure it's not dripping. Begin applying this color wash to the top 2/3 of the canvas, starting from the upper edge. Work in smooth, horizontal strokes, moving from left to right. Focus on even coverage to create a soft, glowing background, but don't worry too much about precision at this stage. We are building the base layer. As you work your way down towards the middle of the canvas, lighten the pressure on the brush to create a gentle fade, blending the colors into a soft gradient. This will mimic the natural light dispersing in the sky as it transitions down toward the horizon. To achieve a warm glow effect, focus on keeping the strokes smooth and avoid any harsh lines. Use long, sweeping motions to blend the paint, and make sure to maintain a soft transition between areas where the color is more intense and where it becomes lighter. If needed, you can clean your brush and blend more titanium white into the middle sections to soften the yellow hue and brighten the central area of the sky. This helps create the illusion of light filtering through the trees in the background, giving the painting a warm, misty ambience. Remember, this initial background layer is meant to be soft and blurry, so avoid adding any sharp details at this point. We are focusing on laying down the foundation for the glowing light that will peek through the trees and foliage. Once the wash is evenly spread, we'll let it dry a bit before moving to the lake outline. Now, let's mix light burnt sienna with a touch of medium. Use a fine liner brush to lightly sketch out the shape of the lake in the middle of the canvas. Keep the lines subtle, just enough to serve as a guide for later detailing. This outline will define the calm water that meanders through the scene. Now that we've laid the warm background for the sky and distant trees, it's time to move forward in the landscape and start painting the green mounds near the lake. These mounds will help to create a sense of depth and form in the painting, adding natural contours to the land around the water. First, take a medium-sized filbert brush for more controlled strokes and smoother blending. We'll begin with phthalo green, which is a vibrant, rich green that will serve as the base color for the mounds. Load your brush with a generous amount of phthalo green, and let's start shaping the mounds. Begin by loosely blocking in the shape of the mounds along the shoreline, focusing on where the land naturally curves around the lake. Use broad, sweeping strokes to follow the curve of the land, which will help create the illusion of depth and contour. Paint the mounds in different sizes, some high air, some low air, to give the landscape a natural, uneven look. As you build the mounds, notice the areas where light would naturally fall. We need to differentiate between the shaded and lit areas to add depth and dimension. Start by adding darker tones to the shadowed areas of the mounds. Mix a little burnt umber into your phthalo green to darken it, and apply this mix to the areas that would be in shadow, typically the lower parts of the mounds or the areas further from the light source. This will help to ground the mounds and give them more weight and volume. Now, let's add highlights to the mounds to make them pop and bring the landscape to life. Clean your brush, then mix some titanium white into the phthalo green to create a lighter shade of green. Gently apply this lighter color to the tops of the mounds where the light would naturally hit. Use light, short strokes, following the curve of the land, to suggest that the sun is softly illuminating these areas. Don't overblend these highlights. Keeping them a bit rough will add texture and the impression of uneven terrain, which is key to making the mounds look more natural. As you paint, imagine how the sunlight filters through the trees and touches the tops of the mounds, creating areas of brightness and areas of shadow. To add even more texture, you can use a fan brush in a stippling motion, gently tapping it over the mounds to suggest grassy areas or rough terrain. Make sure to leave some variation in the tones. Where the sunlight is strongest, use more of the light green mix. Where the light fades or the landscape dips, use darker greens and browns to enhance the shadows. These subtle changes in tone will help create a natural, rolling look to the mounds. Finally, step back and take a look at your mounds to see if any areas need more blending or contrast. You want to maintain a sense of balance between the light and shadow to keep the mounds looking dynamic and three-dimensional. When you are satisfied, we'll move on to adding foliage and trees on and around the mounds in the next step. Repeat the process this side, as we did before. Now, let's move to the greenery that grows above the mound. This foliage will help frame the scene and give our painting the depth and lush feeling of a forested landscape. We'll be using the same phthalo green mix we used for the mounds, but this time applying it in a way that mimics leaves and dense foliage. For this, you have a couple of brush options depending on the effect you want to achieve. The wide, spread out bristles of a brush are perfect for creating foliage with light, quick strokes. Apply a stippling technique to build up the layers of leaves. Let's begin. Load it with the phthalo green mix and using the edge of the brush, lightly tap the canvas to create clusters of foliage. Start from the base of the greenery, just above the mound, and slowly work your way up towards the top of the canvas. The goal here is to create an uneven, organic spread of leaves, so vary the pressure and direction of your brush strokes. For the first layer, keep the green more solid and uniform. Don't worry too much about details yet, we are building the base layer for the foliage. As you move upwards, imagine how the foliage would naturally spread and thin out. The leaves should be denser at the bottom and gradually become lighter and more scattered as they reach the top. To create this effect, gradually lighten your touch with the fan brush as you move toward the upper sections. You can also use more horizontal strokes to suggest leaves hanging from branches. Once the first layer is in place, it's time to add more depth and dimension to the foliage. To create shadowed areas in the greenery, mix a small amount of burnt umber with phthalo green to darken it. Tap this darker mix into the areas where the foliage would naturally fall into shadow. Focus on the lower sections or areas deeper into the forest where less light reaches. This will give your foliage depth and prevent it from looking flat. Now, let's highlight the foliage to make it look vibrant and sunlit. Clean your brush and mix titanium white into the phthalo green to create a lighter green. Lightly apply this to the top portions of the foliage where sunlight would naturally fall, using the same tapping motion. Be sure to keep these highlights subtle, too much can overpower the scene. The goal is to create just enough contrast between the light and dark areas to give the impression of light filtering through the trees. Focus on the edges of the foliage or the tips of the branches to show where the sun is hitting the leaves. Have a more controlled and dense look for the foliage using the brush and use the stippling technique. Load the brush with the green paint and gently dab the tip of the brush onto the canvas, working in small clusters of dots. This method is great for creating detailed, dense foliage, adding realism and visual interest to the greenery. As you build the foliage, make sure to leave small gaps or spaces between clusters of leaves to suggest depth and branches underneath. These gaps also help prevent the greenery from becoming too heavy or blocky, allowing the viewer's eye to move naturally through the painting. Once you've finished the foliage, take a step back to assess the balance of light and shadow. If needed, you can go back in with a little more of the darkened phthalo green or burnt umber to enhance the shadowed areas or add more titanium white highlights to brighten certain spots. Finally, for today's session, let's add a tall, slender tree with a thin trunk on the mound. Mix burnt umber and phthalo green for the trunk and branches, keeping them long and delicate. Use a small brush for this. Add the tree foliage around the trunk using our existing green mix, but be careful to leave the trunk visible. And there we have it, a strong start to our lake in a forest. The green mounds, tree, and soft sky wash give us a solid foundation for what's to come in part 2, where we'll add more detail and finalize the lake's reflection. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to let this layer dry before moving on to the next part. See you in the next session, where we'll complete the scene with rich details in the trees, foliage, and lake reflections. Happy painting!